Hi everyone, welcome back to the Little O Nutrition channel. I'm Una, aka Little O, and today I want to rant about why food is not medicine. This is like, okay, I think the original food and medicine quote is from way back ancient Greece times, like from Hippocrates or one of these like founding fathers of modern medicine. Awesome, right? And you know, in a way, back in those days, food probably was a form of medicine because they didn't have medicine. And also, you know, people didn't have enough food. There wasn't such a variety of foods available. So yeah, having food and enough of it probably heals people. But today we have actual medicine. And here's my number one issue with the phrase food is medicine is that it isn't. Yes, I did nearly curse there. I'm really angry about this topic because here's like, look, if medicine isn't food, then food cannot be medicine because that's kind of just how talking in English fucking works, right? If medicine isn't food, food is not medicine. Let's also just take a look at, what is food? Because like, it's not medicine. The function of food is energy primarily. Energy. And the second function is obviously nutrition. We need some nutrients that we get from food. Important. Yes. Let's take a look at medicine. Wait, does it have any of the same functions as food? No. Does food have any of the same functions as medicine? No, because what medicine does is prevents and or cures illness. Not the same as food. And I know, like, it's a lovely theory and I really wish it was true. If I could just tell people, if you just eat this way and if you just eat these foods, you'll never get sick and we'll all live forever. I'd love to be able to do that. But that is just some grade A BS. Like, that's not how life works. I'm really sorry if you've been living in some utopian world where just magically we can say food is medicine and if you eat this way, you'll be healthy forever. But that's not true. And we can't pretend that that's the case. And we can't allow messages like food is medicine to just be accepted by society. Why? Because then they won't take medicine when it's necessary, right? Because here, like, look, most illness, right? Most of the illnesses that me and you would commonly have are caused by a bacteria or a virus. And actually, us getting that disease or that illness has nothing to do with our lifestyle. It has absolutely nothing to do with the foods that we eat, when we eat, whether we go to the gym or not, our current stress levels, like, okay, right, you're more susceptible probably to a lot of diseases if you're really stressed and not eating enough food and all that kind of stuff. But the bacteria isn't like, oh, I won't infect that person because they had their turmeric latte this morning. Not how it works. Not how it works. And you can't just say that then, categorically, food is medicine if it's not all kinds of medicine, right? Like, you can't just be like, oh, well, food is medicine in this situation, but it's not when we're talking about the common cold. You get me? Because I get it, right? There's all this kind of notions. Like, there's early days research for some of this stuff, but like, let's talk about my number one example, and also because I'm wearing this bright color yellow that is the same color as, of course, turmeric. Turmeric, just people really want it to cure stuff, and it doesn't. It really doesn't. I've talked about it. I know I use it as an example all the time because it's the easiest kind of one to talk about all the time. But like, people really want turmeric to be a cure for things, and people really want it to be the reason that there is or isn't disease, or if you eat it you don't get such a thing and it cures this and this thing. It doesn't. So the thing with turmeric is there's this kind of compound in it called curcumin, and basically in petri dishes, like in test tubes, research found that like it killed cancer and stuff like that. Like, also, let's just, in test tubes, in glass things, not in people. And also, that means like there's not even a sample size. It's just a few tests in a lab. And they were like, oh, this could be really promising. We can use this for cancer treatment and cancer prevention. And it just kind of got wild about turmeric for a while. But it hasn't left, even though we've started studying taking turmeric in people, and even in studies of curcumin. So where they've isolated that curcumin from the turmeric and gave it to people, still didn't like stop cancer. Like, doesn't do that. So to say then that just regular old turmeric, of which there's actually like really small amounts of curcumin in just general turmeric, and also like it's really hard to absorb that and everything inhibits it. Like, so if you put black pepper with it, that prevents it being like absorbed. So, you know, basically if you have turmeric in a curry, it doesn't work. But people still hold on to that notion because they're like, okay, but turmeric is widely available now and it's cheap enough to buy a little jar in Tesco, and, you know, it's easy enough to add it into my smoothie in the morning, or it's easy enough to throw it into a curry at dinner. That doesn't mean it's medicine. It doesn't mean it has or will ever or has ever cured anyone. And the main reason I'm against it, like I said, is because I fear, and I know that, this whole notion of food being medicine means that people don't go out for that medical attention and opt out of getting medical treatment often. And we're seeing it kind of happen more and more, particularly in cancer patients. And this is something that's so heartbreaking because people die because of this food is medicine issue. Literally, people die. And why do they die? Because some quack on the internet, who is not a doctor, who is not a medical doctor in any case, says, oh, you know, but food is medicine, that chemo stuff will kill you before the cancer does. I'll sort you out with this concoction of stuff in my clinic if you pay me $1 billion. And people go for that because people in those situations are desperate, and you cannot blame those people who opt for that treatment. It is 100% the quack's fault, and it is the fault of governments who allow those people to practice any type of healthcare at all and market themselves and take money from people for absolutely zero service. Because there's cases all the time. There was a case in the news that started this week, in fact, where a woman in the UK has passed away after a battle with cancer because she opted to try a vegan diet instead of actual cancer treatment, and she died. And she died from a type of breast cancer that has like a 93% 5-year survival rate in the UK. That's crazy. That woman could have lived. And that's the worst part, you know, if you've really small odds, do whatever you have to do. And, you know, of course it's your choice always, but please don't get sucked in by people who are claiming that they'll be able to cure you with a diet, because they literally can't. And, you know, more than that, right? Okay, so I hope most of us won't be in this situation where we're faced with a cancer diagnosis and have to decide, do we want to find an alternative method, or do we want to opt for the chemo or the radiation or the surgery or whatever? But more than that, it creates this kind of fear around traditional medicine, or like Western medicine or modern medicine, whatever you want to call it. It creates this fear around it as like not being natural and not being good for us in some way, which is completely untrue and backed up by no evidence, that claim. You know, all the evidence in fact points the opposite, that conventional medicine is much better, much more safe, much more effective than these kind of alternative therapies. And the worst thing about the alternative therapies is there's actually been no studies. I know people are always complaining about like big pharma and, you know, the cost of these clinical trials, but the clinical trials give us evidence that shows us which work and which don't work. Exactly like what we did, like what we talked about with the curcumin. You know, we of course we spent money on it. Big pharma spent tons of money on finding out if that was going to be some kind of wonder drug, and it wasn't. So it's not because it comes from a natural thing. It's because we have other approaches that have been researched and were more successful at trial stage. And in fact, you know, that curcumin, that's probably going to go through another like 10 years of trials, and maybe somewhere down the line we'll find a way to extract it in the correct way and put it into the right place that it will work, but we haven't yet. And the cancer treatments that we have are the best that we have. And they're not food. And the treatments that we have for infections, it's not food. It's medicine. And it fucking works. So we should use it. And keep food for what it is. Food is sustenance, it's energy, it's nutrition, it's enjoyment, it's spending time with family and friends. Away from concerns about your health and whether or not your meal is going to give you a disease or prevent a disease. Life's not that simple, and if there was such an easy answer, I would 100% give it to you. But there isn't. Life is messy. Decisions aren't always easy when it comes to healthcare, but please, please remember that food is not medicine. Food is food, and medicine is medicine. Let's keep it that way. Talk to you guys soon.